This is every movie that I watched in January in the order that I watched them reviewed. The first movie I watched this week was Late Night with the Devil. I really liked this movie. It was very unique. It was like a 90-minute late night TV talk show. Dave DeSmulchin killed it, and he really felt like a TV talk show host when he's doing his little like world news comedy bits that are kind of cringy. Like he felt like you're watching Conan or fucking Jimmy Fallon or one of these late night dudes. It was really cool, really good, fun horror movie. I feel like by the end they kind of milked it. The last 20 minutes I was like, all right, wrap it up. I think this gimmick has kind of burnt its course. It's gone on a little bit too long. It's where it kind of started to feel a little bit tired to me. But I really thought it was a really unique, well-made movie. Dave DeSmulchin's like I think one of the most underrated actors working today. And I was a big fan of Late Night with the Devil. Really fun movie to watch with people and pretty interesting. If I were to give it a grade, I'd give it a B. The next movie I watched is Challengers. Challengers is over 2 hours and it's a movie about tennis. I did not think I would like it, but I thought it was great. It's one of the fastest paced movies of 2024. The music in it, the editing, just the scenes when they'll have a conversation between two characters, it's happening in a storm with this music going on. It's just very well edited. It reminds me of Black Swan. Black Swan's just a pure drama horror movie, and it's about ballerina, but it's one of the fastest paced movies I've ever seen. Black Swan and Challengers kind of reminded me of that because it's, I think, like 2 hours, 10 minutes, but it flies by. Honestly, Challengers felt shorter to me than Late Night with the Devil felt. But I was a big fan of it. I liked that Zendaya was really kind of the villain, but she also says at the beginning of the movie, I don't want to be a homewrecker. Don't make me be a homewrecker. And then they made her be a homewrecker. I didn't love the characters in it, pretty much any of the characters, which is my one like big detractor. I didn't really care for anyone in the movie. It was interesting to watch these horrible people, but I'm like, all these people are pretty, they suck. But it was really entertaining. A movie about tennis, so quickly edited, so well acted. Luca Guadagnino is a really great director. For me, my favorite things he's done so far is Suspiria, but I've really liked pretty much most of his movies. Bones and all I thought was a bit underwhelming. But I like Luca Guadagnino and I like Challengers. If I were to give it a grade, I'd give it a B+. The next movie I watched was a rewatch of, I believe it was number 4 on my top 10 movies of 2024, Furiosa. Mad Max Fury Road is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I didn't like Furiosa as much as Mad Max Fury Road, but I still really loved Furiosa. And when you watch all these modern day blockbusters, and then you watch Furiosa, you could tell it's a bit on another level compared to a lot of these blockbusters coming out. It feels like it was actually made by an artist instead of by a factory and a corporation. I love this movie. Immortan Joe is one of my favorite movie characters of all time, and I like seeing him, a younger version of him in this movie. I like how Mad Max Fury Road was like one long car chase, and so much story happens in that car chase with all these different characters. But Furiosa is really like a whole saga of a character. It's a character's entire journey that it follows and growing up in this wasteland world. My only big problems with Furiosa is that I do think it's almost 2.5 hours. I felt like it went on a little bit too long, maybe 20 minutes too long. Mad Max Fury Road's like a perfect 2 hour film. This one was a little bit long for me. And my only other issue with the film is the CGI in this film. I know there's a lot of CGI and visual effects in Mad Max Fury Road. The movie's not all entirely practical. I just feel like George Miller did a better job at blending the CGI in that film than he did in this film. Other than that, I mean, the movie still has a lot of great effects, a lot of great stunts, a lot of great practical effects. It has some of the best car chase action scenes of any film ever. I love Furiosa. If I were to give it a grade, I'd give it an A-. The last film I watched for the week was Strange Darling. A couple people told me to watch Strange Darling. I thought it was a very unique, very fun, entertaining serial killer thriller. A really interesting serial killer thriller with a kind of unique premise, midway twist that I didn't see coming, and I like that it was told out of order. I thought it was really good. It had some of the dumbest cops of all time in the film towards the end, where I was like, these cops were just so stupid that it didn't feel real. This wasn't a movie that I thought was one of the best movies of the year or anything that I'm going to remember, 10 years down the line. But I thought it was a really solid thriller and really entertaining to watch, and it's like 90 minutes flies by. If I were to give it a grade, I'd give it a B. Next movie I watched was 1940's Cinderella. I've been slowly watching all the classic OG Disney princess movies that I'd never seen before throughout the last year. Every single time I watch one of these movies, I'm so shocked how much I like it. Cinderella was so good and I felt so bad for her. The thing I didn't get is the fucking mice. If you didn't have subtitles watching that movie, you don't know what the fuck they're saying. But I thought Cinderella was really good. The only thing I didn't like about it is that I felt like it wrapped up so quick at the end. Like, I get it, these movies back then were like an hour and 10 minutes. I don't want to return to the King ending. I like, the quick endings and stuff, but I just felt like it wrapped up so quickly, and I wanted to see, the mom's reaction, the evil stepmother's reaction. I wanted to see, sort of how all this went. I wanted to see when she went to the castle at the end. I felt like I was really swept up in this whole story, and they just kind of were like, all right, it's over. But I really like Cinderella. If I were to give it a grade, I'd give it an A minus. The next movie I watched for the first time was 1937's Snow White. This movie, in my whole journey I've been going down of watching the OG Disney princess movies over the last year, this is my favorite of the bunch. I think Snow White, I've only seen it the one time so far, but I think this might be one of my favorite movies of all time. I thought it was so incredible, so beautiful. I've really fallen in love with 2D animation, going down this Disney rabbit hole. I feel like you feel the magic of this movie. I feel like the editing of this movie is so good. There's a cut towards the end of the movie. You've been seeing these vultures the entire movie, just sort of watching the action. They're not getting involved, they're just sort of watching. And you think they're evil, but they're just sort of watching. At the end of the movie, when the evil witch is trying to push a boulder over to crush the fucking dwarves, and then the lightning strikes, Mother Nature intervenes, and the evil witch falls off the cliff into the smoke, and she's dead. The vultures who have just been watching this entire film finally leave their branch and just swoop down and start gliding down, and it's implied that they're going to collect the body. The Grim Reapers of Mother Nature. And as they're flowing down, going to collect the body, it's fading out and getting blurry, and then it slowly fades into the scene of Snow White having her funeral in the forest with the dwarves all singing, and then the prince rides up on the horse and he starts singing that song. Is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And with such mind-blowing editing, the animation is 10 times better than any animation movie nowadays. If I were to give Snow White a grade, I would definitely give it an A+. The next movie I saw is 2025. This was my first film of 2025 and my only film of 2025 so far, Wolfman by Leigh Whannell. I was somewhat excited for this movie because I really like Leigh Whannell's The Invisible Man, and that kind of got me stoked for the movie. I'm always down to see a good werewolf movie. In my opinion, there's only been two good werewolf movies ever made that I could think of. The OG Universal Monsters, the Wolfman movie from 1937, and then An American Werewolf in London, I think is probably the best. But I think there's only been two good werewolf movies ever made. The Wolfman isn't one of them. It's another miss in the werewolf genre, but I kind of liked it. I enjoyed it because sometimes you go to a movie and you see the most forgettable, boring piece of shit and you feel like you wasted your time. This was a decently entertaining horror movie for horror fans. It's not anything you're gonna remember. There's a lot of stupid choices made in it, and the acting in it can be kind of just terrible at times, and it makes it hard to buy this relationship in the first half. Some of the lines are just really bad, but it was pretty entertaining. It wasn't bad. It was a fun little stupid throwaway horror movie, but I liked it. If I were to give Wolfman a grade, I would give it a C-. The next movie I watched is this movie called Flow. I believe it's a French animated movie. I could be totally wrong on that. But it's nominated for Best Animated Movie at the Oscars. And I know the two biggest competitors are Flow and The Wild Robot. I personally have the unpopular opinion that The Wild Robot is one of the most overrated movies of all time. I say of all time, not for recency bias, but the fact that some people have said this is the best animated movie ever, or even that it's one of the best animated movies ever. It was the first movie in about 5 years that I walked out of. I thought it was really bad. I thought it was the exact opposite of Show Don't Tell. It was tell, tell, tell. Don't show shit. Fucking emo goose yelling at his mom. Just weird movie. I'm not here to talk about The Wild Robot. I'm sorry. Flow. Flow was fucking so good, and this is what The Wild Robot should have been. The animals weren't talking. Flow is about 5 animals that have to come together and work together to survive this flood that's happening in this mysterious land. This movie's a bit fantastical, but it's just these animals. There's no dialogue. The animals don't have names. It feels very real. If you have a dog, the dog in this movie acts so much like a dog. I'm sure with the cats it's the same. It's just a cat, a capybara, this bird that I learned its name the other day and now I forgot, a dog, and a lemur. The animation is not the greatest, but it's kind of interesting and unique to where I did like the animation. I love the story. I love that there's things in this movie that don't really make sense, but you're seeing it all from the perspective of animals, so it doesn't need to make sense. It's kind of just left for you to piece together the same way the animals don't know what the hell is going on. I thought Flow is just something, if you're a dog person or if you're just an animal person, Flow's awesome. It's one of the best animal animated movies I've seen in a while. Not The Wild Robot with the annoying, stupid fox that won't shut up. The animals don't talk. It feels like realistic animals in this situation. They act like real animals, and it's really, really good. Watch this. This should win the best animated Oscar. If I were to give Flow a grade, I'd give it an A. Next movie I watched is Waiting with Ryan Reynolds, Justin Long, Anna Faris. When I first started working in restaurants, everybody told me I needed to watch this movie. Now watching it 8 years later and rewatching the movie, I see it. I'm still working in restaurants, but I almost see it after so many years in it in a whole different perspective and being in a whole different position than I was previously. Waiting is so good and so accurately detailed to where anybody who's ever worked in a restaurant, whether you were a dishwasher or a server, you can't watch this movie and not relate to it in so many ways. And it's just so funny. I love Justin Long. I love Ryan Reynolds in it. The whole crew is so good. The game, that dude Mitch, how on his first day there, he doesn't get told a single thing about the job. He just gets told about their game where they show each other their dicks and all the different positions. In that scene, I forget the dude. He's got like Radimus, is that his name? When he's waiting in front of that door with like to show the goat for like 30 minutes. And he's just waiting, and they just keep cutting back to him, and he's waiting. And the second he gives up, the dude walks in the door. Was so good. And I never watched the credits before. But Andy Milonakis, his rap song at the end, he was killing it. That was a crazy song. I was really into it. And him too, if you ever, I feel like everyone who's worked at a restaurant had like 2 teenage kids who were just like that. They were just stoned at work and just disasters. Waiting. Awesome movie. Not to be so generous tonight and give away so many A's, but if I were to give Waiting a grade, I'd give it an A. That's everything I watched for the month of January. Only 9 movies. I worked too much, didn't watch enough movies. February, I'm going to go for 12. Peace. What should I watch in February? Let me know.